It was supposed to be just another Friday night in Austin, the kind that started loud and ended in silence. Jake had known Ava since sophomore year, the girl who always sat 2 seats away in every class they shared, the one who texted him first when something good happened and last when something bad did. That night, the party at Marcus's place had spiraled the way college parties always seemed to. Cheap speakers rattling the windows, red cups multiplying on every surface, and somewhere around midnight, Ava had crossed the line from tipsy to gone. Jake found her by the kitchen counter, laughing at nothing, her words melting into each other, and something in him refused to leave her there. Her other friends were still deep in the party, phones out, filming a group of guys doing something stupid on the balcony, and nobody seemed to notice she could barely stand. He didn't think twice. He grabbed her jacket, wrapped it around her shoulders, and walked her out into the cool night air, one arm looped under hers to keep her steady. She didn't argue. She just leaned into him like it was the most natural thing in the world, and that should have told him something, but it didn't, not yet. The drive across town was quiet except for the low hum of the radio and Ava's occasional mumbling, half-formed sentences that dissolved before they became real words. Streetlights slid across her face in slow orange waves, and for a moment she looked almost peaceful, nothing like the chaos she'd been 20 minutes earlier. Jake kept his eyes on the road, both hands on the wheel, running through the same mental checklist he always did when he drove her home like this. Seatbelt, water bottle in the cup holder, phone charged in case her parents needed to reach him. He had done this before, more times than he could count, and it had always felt simple. Get her home, get her inside, say goodnight. That was the entire plan, the same plan it had always been. He had no idea that tonight, that plan was about to fall apart the second her mother opened the front door. Her neighborhood was silent by the time they arrived, porch lights glowing over quiet lawns, every house already asleep except hers. Jake parked at the curb and came around to help her out, and she stumbled once on the driveway, gripping his forearm so tightly he could feel her nails through his sleeve. They made it to the porch step by step, her weight heavier than it looked, her breath warm and uneven against his shoulder. He told himself this was routine, nothing new, nothing to think about. He was wrong. Because the second the door swung open and Ava's mother saw the two of them standing there, something shifted in her expression that Jake couldn't quite name at first. Something between relief and recognition, like she'd been waiting for a moment she knew was coming eventually. She thanked him quietly, taking some of Ava's weight onto her own shoulder, and for a second it seemed like the night would end exactly the way every other night like this had ended. A tired goodbye. A promise to text when she got inside. Nothing more. But as Jake turned to leave, her mother said something under her breath, so soft he almost missed it, and then repeated it when she saw the confusion on his face. She's liked you for a long time, she just never figured out how to say it. Jake froze on the top step, his hand still resting on the doorframe, unsure if he'd heard her correctly. The words didn't fit into any version of the night he had imagined. Ava was barely conscious beside her mother, unaware that the sentence hanging in the air between the two adults was about to rewrite everything Jake thought he understood about their friendship. He opened his mouth to say something, anything, but nothing useful came out, just a half laugh that sounded more nervous than amused. Her mother didn't smile the way people do when they're joking. She watched him carefully, the way someone watches for a reaction they already expect, and Jake realized this wasn't a slip of the tongue or something said lightly because of the late hour. This was something she had clearly wanted to say for a while, maybe even something she and Ava had talked about, quietly, on nights Jake knew nothing about. He looked down at Ava, her head tilted against the doorframe, eyes barely open, completely unaware that her whole world had just been described out loud 2 feet above her head. Every memory Jake had of her started rearranging itself in his mind at once, the way she always saved him a seat without asking, the way she remembered small details about his life that he barely remembered mentioning, the way she used to get quiet whenever he talked about other girls, and how he had always mistaken that silence for disinterest instead of something else entirely. He managed a quiet goodnight, helped walk Ava the last few steps inside, and watched her mother guide her toward the stairs before the door began to close. Jake walked back to his car slower than usual, the porch light shrinking behind him, the night suddenly feeling colder than it had 10 minutes earlier. He sat in the driver's seat for a long moment without starting the engine, staring at the dark house, replaying the sentence over and over until it stopped sounding like new information and started sounding like something he should have known months ago. He drove home in silence, the radio off this time, his mind circling the same question from every angle it could find. Had he really missed something that obvious, or had he simply never allowed himself to look for it? The next few days felt strange in a way Jake couldn't fully explain to anyone, not even to himself. He and Ava texted like normal, small jokes, class complaints, the same rhythm they always had, except now every message carried a weight it hadn't carried before. He found himself rereading her texts twice, searching for meaning that might have been there all along, hidden underneath the ordinary words. On Tuesday, she asked if he wanted to grab coffee before their shared lecture, the same casual invitation she'd sent dozens of times, but this time his stomach tightened when he read it. He said yes anyway, because saying no felt impossible, and because some part of him wanted to see her again with this new information sitting between them like a secret only he knew. They met at the small cafe near campus, the one with the crooked sign and the barista who always got Ava's order wrong on purpose just to make her laugh. She looked completely normal, hair pulled back, wearing the same oversized hoodie she always wore on lecture days, no sign that anything had changed on her end at all. Jake studied her more closely than he meant to, searching for some hint of the feelings her mother had described, and slowly, painfully, he started noticing them everywhere. The way she smiled a beat longer when he said something funny. The way her eyes flicked away whenever the conversation drifted somewhere too personal. The way she always chose the seat closest to him without seeming to think about it. It had been there the entire time, quiet and consistent, and he had simply never been looking for it before. He almost said something twice that morning and stopped himself both times, unsure how to bring it up without breaking whatever fragile balance still existed between them. It wasn't until they were walking back toward the lecture hall, the wind picking up around them, that Ava suddenly stopped walking and turned to face him, her expression unusually serious. She asked if her mom had said something weird to him the other night, her voice careful, like she already suspected the answer and was bracing for it. Jake's silence answered before he could form actual words, and something in Ava's face fell, embarrassment and panic crossing her features at the same time. She started apologizing immediately, rushing through explanations about her mother, meaning well but having no filter, insisting it wasn't a big deal, that he shouldn't feel weird about it, that everything could just go back to normal. But Jake didn't want it to go back to normal. Standing there on the sidewalk with people moving around them, he realized he had spent the last 3 days quietly hoping the sentence was true, replaying every small gesture Ava had ever made toward him and wanting, more than he expected, for all of it to mean something real. He told her that, not perfectly, not smoothly, stumbling over the words the same way she was stumbling over her apology, but he said it anyway. He told her he hadn't been able to stop thinking about it, that once he started looking for it, he saw it everywhere, and that if it was true, he didn't want her to take it back. Ava went quiet in a way he had never seen before, her usual quick replies completely gone, and for a long moment, neither of them said anything at all. When she finally spoke, her voice was smaller than usual, admitting that she'd liked him for almost 2 years, that she'd never said anything because she was terrified it would ruin the one friendship that mattered most to her, that she'd rather have him as a friend forever than risk losing him completely over feelings he might never return. Jake felt something in his chest loosen at those words, a tension he hadn't even realized he'd been carrying since the porch light clicked off behind him 3 nights earlier. He told her she wasn't going to lose him, that this didn't feel like an ending. It felt like the beginning of something they had both been circling around without either of them saying it out loud. They didn't kiss on that sidewalk, and nothing was resolved instantly the way it might be in a movie. But something between them had shifted permanently, the easy friendship replaced by something more careful, more honest, both of them finally speaking a language they had been avoiding for years. Over the following weeks, the late-night drives home became something different, quieter, charged with a kind of awareness that hadn't existed before. Ava's mother never brought it up again directly, but she started smiling at Jake a little differently whenever he came by, like she knew exactly what her one honest sentence had set into motion. Jake sometimes thought about that porch, that moment frozen under the yellow light, and wondered how many other truths sit quietly in plain sight, waiting for someone tired enough, or brave enough, to finally say them out loud. Months later, when people asked how it started, Jake would tell them about the party, the drive, the porch light, and the sentence he almost didn't hear. He would leave out how long he'd stayed awake that first night, replaying 8 words until they stopped sounding like a surprise and started sounding like something he had always known but never let himself say. Ava's mother, for her part, never took full credit, but she never denied it either. She simply smiled whenever the story came up, the same quiet, knowing smile she'd worn on that porch, as if she'd understood long before either of them did that. Some feelings only need one honest voice to finally come out of hiding.